All right, now let's talk about lung cancer. As you know, the statistics on lung cancer, I believe that after 5 years, it's something like 13, 15%. The rest just don't make it. It's one of the worst.
It's horrible. It's the #1 cancer among men. I've had numerous people come to me with lung cancer, and certainly when we talk about the deadliest cancers here, if people want to survive, they, again, have to be willing to do 100%. They have to, you know, cut out all the stops. They have to go full blast.
Particularly on this kind of cancer.
Particularly with this program, with this particular type of cancer, yeah.
Okay. You remember any particular cases that you've been able to help?
Certainly, in some horrible ones. I mean, I had a man come to me with lung cancer in both lungs. It had metastasized to his spine and to his sternum. And he was spitting up blood, mucus, tarry-looking substances. Now, yes, he was a smoker for numerous years and had done a lot to get his lung cancer. And we had to do a couple programs with him that may be a little more specific to lung cancer. One is breathing clean air. I mean, you can't heal your lungs if you're breathing dirty air. So if you're living in a very polluted city, you've got to get out of there. You know, take a break, get somewhere where you can breathe that clean air. These lungs aren't going to get well.
Okay.
You have to exercise. Exercise is what opens up the diaphragm. It really opens it up so these lungs can expand and contract.
But it doesn't overtax a sick person?
No, no, not at all. In fact, it'll keep them alive. I mean, you know, this lung tissue is being covered with cancer. It's stopping us from getting oxygen in our blood. So we need to get those people almost hyperventilating, breathing more than they ever would to get more or even normal oxygen in their blood. So exercise is terrific. The hot and cold right on the chest. You do that and you'll go, oh! I mean, anybody, get in a cold shower, let it run on your chest and see what happens to your lungs. I mean, you'll be doing it'll force you into the deep breathing.
Okay.
And of course, there's some terrific herbs for the lungs. Lobelia is was one of Dr. Christopher's favorites.
How would you use it?
You can use lobelia tincture. You can make lobelia tea. Lobelia does numerous things. It dilates the bronchioles. Lobelia will dilate the bronchioles so you can get more of that air in, and also the material, as your body's detoxifying, these cancer tumors will be eaten. You have a specific macrophage right in your lungs, that's only in your lungs, that's just designed to eat garbage in your lungs, and we need to stimulate that macrophage, but then that mucus that we cough out is good. That's dead immune cells mixed with this cancer tumor.
What do you do, a few drops? How much?
The best way to use lobelia is start out with 1 dropper full. That'd be 30 drops, about 5 times a day over a period of a day. And that'll really open those lungs.
That'll make you throw up?
No, and if it does, Dr. Christopher always said a cleaner stomach for the next dose. There's nothing wrong with vomiting. In fact, vomiting when you have a lung problem can compress the diaphragm and purge material out of the lungs. So it's actually good. You can even take enough to where you make yourself vomit if you feel like there's something loose in your lungs and you really have to get it out.
Have you ever seen stuff come out of lungs?
Oh, horrible stuff. Stringy pieces of black tar, 8-10 inches long. I mean, blood, pus, chunks of the pieces of cancer. I've seen it come right out of the lungs.
So they get as infected and gory as any other part of the body?
Oh, horrible. It's horrible. And it takes some work. There's expectorant herbs, too, that will help you to cough out this material. You know, I remember Dr. Christopher made a great cough tonic. People sent it back because they said it made them cough more. That's what it's supposed to do. The expectorant herbs help you expectorate. When we're coughing, a doctor would give you something with codeine in it, something that suppresses you from coughing, and then the infection grows wild in your lungs.
Okay, in lung cancer specifically, what herbs are you going to use for the lungs?
Expectorants. Wild cherry is one of my favorite because it's not only disinfectant, but it also is an expectorant. Opens up your lungs, makes you cough.
Doesn't that sound like it's for a mild condition, cherry?
You know,
it's like coughing, not lung cancer?
I know, it's unfortunate. And the reason we think that is just because all our cough syrups have been made cherry flavored.
Right.
And that's how it's degenerated over the years. But cherry, all tree barks are antibacterial and antiviral. It's amazing because that's the tree's immune system. So your cherry bark has the cherry resin in it. It's dramatic and how that will destroy the bacteria and help you expectorate.
But again, we're not talking about bacteria, we're talking about cancer,
well,
which is a little different
thing. You
know,
cancer many times is caused by bacterial infections, many times is caused by viral infections.
Okay.
These can cause that type of inflammation that sets up the degeneration that turns into cancer.
Okay, cherry, any other kinds of herbs?
Yes. Cherry's one of my favorites. Comfrey is quite famous for also expectorating out of the lungs. Mullein, Dr. Christopher used a lot of mullein in the lung formula. It's a beautiful herb. I want to caution people, many people have heard that smoking herbs for your lungs can help, like smoking mullein and other herbs. Don't do it. All smoke contains tar. All tar clogs your lung tissue.
Okay.
Don't get into smoking.
So what do you do? You've mentioned a few herbs here now. Do you alternate these? What do you put them together? How do you do this?
All at once. You know, use the lobelia on a daily level. Use the wild cherry on a daily level. Oh, one of my favorite herbs for the lungs, too, is garlic and onions. They're great lung herbs. Of course, Dr. Christopher's cough syrup contains garlic juice.
But how do you use them
juice.
in a cancer case?
You just the odors alone, breathing the odors of garlic and onions will start killing the cancer and cleaning out your lungs.
What do you do? A mash and then a plate of it?
Yeah, but I would suggest to eat them because then you get it both ways. So basically, a person with lung cancer needs to greatly increase their consumption of onions and garlic. Because again, as you're eating it, you're breathing the odors. That takes the medicinal properties that's even in the odor right down into the lungs and goes to work right there.
So when you start killing this cancer, as in some of your other cases, it breaks up in pieces?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what you've seen come out?
Absolutely. It can, you know, cancers go two ways, through the blood and out through the system. And absolutely, because as your immune system starts eating these tumors, you got to cough it out. So don't be afraid to cough out, spit things up. And of course, the exercise that we talked about will help you do that too.
Oh, people must be shocked when they cough and they have a piece of cancer.
Oh, absolutely.
In the tissue?
Oh, absolutely. It's horrifying. But again, this is the only way. I don't know any other way. I don't know anybody that goes to the doctor with lung cancer that survives. I haven't met them.
Let's talk about liver cancer now, another frightening cancer.
Sure. And again, here, as we're talking further into cancers, we're getting into the ones that you might as well not go to a doctor for because the prognosis, the treatment, forget it. There's not very many people that have gone to medicine and survived these type of cancers. In fact, again, I don't know anybody. Liver cancer, again, we're talking about one of the organs of our body that's designed to detoxify our body, and now that organ's down. Dr. Christopher used to say that anybody who has cancer, you need to look at the liver and clean the liver. Well, now we have cancer of the organ that's supposed to get us out of this trouble.
So it's real bad.
Oh, it's real bad.
What have you seen? How bad? How big?
I have seen people with liver tumors that were so big, the doctors said they were football size, and of course the liver's over here, and I've seen these tumors extending so far they were sticking out of the left side of the body under the rib cage.
I mean, you can see under the skin, it's pushing out.
Oh, pushing it right out, pushing it up like there's a fist under the skin. That's how big some of these tumors are. Because the liver is quite a large organ.
Well, you wonder how they could even live with something like that.
They're in horrible pain, most of them on morphine by the time they come in my office.
Okay, so when they come to you, I'm just curious. Are they really coming for a cure when it's like that?
Most of them have given up. And they think that maybe, again, I can do something to make them a little more comfortable or give them an extra week or an extra month. Most people don't walk in thinking that they can be cured.
What do you do for it?
Well, the specifics for the liver, one of the greatest herbs, milk thistle. We have to use our milk thistle every day for the rest of this person's life.
How much?
Okay, good. What we use on milk thistle is the seed of milk thistle. One of the most potent ways I know is an extract of milk thistle. But you can just make a tea. You can even chew the seeds up in your mouth.
Is it a European herb?
Oh,
Where's
it's
it from?
a common American weed. Grows all over the place. Most people hate it because it pops out these milky seeds that can go all over your yard. And then it grows there. It's a common weed. It binds to the liver cells, it coats the liver cells, and it protects them from any further damage. Okay, this is very important because it protects them from other cells in your liver that have cancer from eating up the rest of your liver.
Okay.
But now we have to go to what cleans that liver out.
What do you do?
This is important. The bitters. When you think of the liver, you have to think of the bitters. Not only the bitter herbs like barberry or Oregon grape, they both work about the same, but there's great bitter herbs that I know there's bitter herbs growing in everybody's front yard. Everybody who's listening to this video has a bitter herb in their front yard. It's called dandelion.
Okay.
And dandelion is famous for cleaning the liver. The root, the leaf, use those dandelion leaves in your salad. Stop trying to to get the dandelion out of your yard,
Start
get rid of the
eating it.
grass. Get rid of the ryegrass and just grow a whole front yard full of dandelion. It looks nicer. It's prettier. I don't know why we went against dandelion, but the bitterness in dandelion will clean that liver out, promote more bile flow, clean and detoxify that liver. But there's other great bitters, chicory, which many times people put into salads. When you shop for your greens, buy the dark greens that taste bitter, arugula, radicchio. Go for that bitter taste.
Okay, now you were telling me you have the patients do a liver flush
Oh,
every day.
absolutely.
Briefly tell us, what are they doing every day?
Yeah, well, just start out easy, okay? When you have liver cancer, start out easy, pushing the liver. We're talking about 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 1 clove of garlic. You know, make an easy liver flush.
Tablespoon of olive oil, clove of garlic.
1 clove of garlic, 8 ounces of, if it's in the springtime or the summertime, citrus juice. You can just use orange, but to intensify it, go and add a little lime, a little lemon. In fact, even add some of the peel, because the oil and citrus peel alone is detoxifying and cleaning to the liver. And then 8 ounces of distilled water. So it's 8 ounces of distilled water, 8 ounces of citrus combination, 1 clove of garlic, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and a little bit of ginger, a chunk about the size from your thumb knuckle up. Toss it all in a blender, blend it up, drink it down. Don't sip it like a fine wine here, just get it down.
Once a day or what?
Every morning. That's how you start
On
your
an empty
morning.
stomach.
On an empty stomach. And then it's very important, 15 minutes later, you can go to 30 if you want, you drink 2 cups or 16 ounces of detoxification tea, a digestive stimulant tea, our detox tea.
Okay, good.
And that's very important. And then if you can handle that, 2 cloves of garlic and 2 spoons of olive oil.
Oh, if you can handle it, up the dose.
And if
Where
you
do you
can
end
handle
up at the dose?
Four, 4 cloves, 5 cloves of garlic, 4 or 5 tablespoons of olive oil. And as you increase that, increase the size of your ginger root also, because the ginger root is an anti-nauseant and will keep you from feeling like you need to vomit, sometimes with that much oil in your system. And you know what this is? It's an oil change. I mean, we take our cars in 4 times a year, change the oil, tune up lube. We got to do that with our bodies. In the fall, use apple and grape juice instead of the citrus. It's a better juice to use in the fall.
Now, you were telling me in liver cases you also use chaparral, which people today don't want to even touch.
Oh, I know. You know, because this is, you know, most of my herbalist friends, in fact, even in the herbal publications nowadays, the professional magazines of the herb trade, they warn people to not use chaparral. This is ridiculous, and they say because it's caused liver problems. I personally know it's never caused any liver problems. I even know the people that supposedly this happened to, and it didn't happen to them. They had liver problems first.
Okay.
Chaparral doesn't cause liver problems. Chaparral cleans the liver and breaks up tumors, especially cancerous tumors.
So it goes after tumors.
Oh, absolutely. It goes after them. It's one of the greatest antioxidant herbs. It eats them up, it chews them up, and it spits them out. And if you want to get rid of a tumor, chaparral's the herb to use.
Now, you said tons of chaparral you use. What do you mean? How much?
Oh, absolutely.
How much? How strong?
Make 4 cups a day, and I would have 4 cups of chaparral tea a day.
How strong?
You won't have to ask that question when you drink it, because even mild, it tastes too strong. Chaparral is a very pungent, bitter-tasting herb. It's a desert plant. It's very resinous, and most of that resin doesn't come out in water anyway, so you won't have to worry about making it too strong, but you can generally put, if you're making a quart, which is what I would suggest at 4 cups a day, a quart of chaparral tea, I would go ahead and put at least 4 heaping tablespoons of chaparral into that.
Okay.
Also, chaparral extract is important because it has a resin on it, and to get all that resin out, a little bit of alcohol works. Now, the amount of alcohol that's in an herbal extract does not affect the liver, okay? It's very minute, and if you want to get rid of that, if anybody out there either is an alcoholic or they don't want to have that alcohol in their tincture, all you do is put that tincture in a cup, pour boiling water over it, alcohol evaporates at 200 degrees, you see a little puff of white evaporation, no alcohol in your tea now.
Okay, now you realize in giving this advice to readers that chaparral is not commercially available, extract or the other, so
Luckily,
what are you really telling them?
Take a vacation to Las Vegas, the western United States. almost one of the only plants that grows throughout the whole desert is chaparral. There's no shortage of it. It's a joke that the FDA would want to take it off the
So
shelf.
the deserts are full of it.
Oh, the deserts are full of it. In fact, if you drive from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, you drive through 250 miles of Lauria californica or Lauria tridentata, which is chaparral.
So you're saying go out and get it.
Yeah, it's in order for the FDA to stop chaparral, they'd have to nuke the entire west coast of the United States, and I don't think they're going to do that.
Now let's talk about probably the fastest cancer known, pancreatic cancer,
Yeah,
the one that killed Michael Landon.
Absolutely. You know, pancreatic cancer, when people are told that, they maybe give up hope more than any other group of people. It has the quickest death rate, usually 2 to 3 months, and that person's dead. Again, we're just trying to work as fast as we can here on this person and buy us as much time because we know that this is a very, very serious disease.
What do you do? How do you get right down to business in a case like this?
The first thing is you have to stop all sweet foods. You know, the pancreas has a number of jobs, digestion and sugar regulation, and you got to give the pancreas a vacation. If you want to heal an organ, you got to relax it, let it relax a little bit, not overtax it.
So sugar out.
Oh, sugar is out in anything that's sweet, even your artificial sweeteners. Every artificial sweetener that's been developed to date has been proven eventually to be carcinogenic. And now they're having emotional problems with the artificial sweeteners. I mean, these are potent drugs.
Okay. Do you have any case you remember that you've actually pulled out?
Absolutely. I had a woman come to me who actually, again, came to me for something different. She came to me for incontinence. She had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. She was sent home to die, but she was also had such bladder problems that she had incontinence. She was wearing diapers, and she just wanted to die with some dignity and didn't want to be wetting herself all the time in her last final couple months. And again, I tried to explain to her that we can, you know, work on the pancreatic cancer, but she didn't even want to hear about it. She had even bought her plot. I mean, everything was set up and ready. Will was made, read to the kids, the works.
She was ready to take off.
Oh, she was gone. She was ready to go. We fixed her incontinence so fast that again she thought, well, wait a minute, I didn't, you know, the doctor said only another bladder surgery, and she had already had 2, would fix this. She decided to go into the program. You know, it really made a believer out of her, and then she started working full steam ahead on the programs for the pancreas, just our general programs again, but with special attention here. You know, again, the hot and cold here, all the immune stimulators, the detox herbs, the liver flushes, working a lot with the upper digestion because the pancreas is involved in that. Balancing the hormones. This is very important.
Okay.
The pancreas is an endocrine organ, and the endocrine system is the hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid,
So what do you do for that
pancreas.
in particular?
There's some particular herbs for women that are wonderful at balancing the endocrine system. One of the favorites, in fact, it's the single most sold and used herb in the world today. The Chinese call it dong quai or tang quai. In America, it's called angelica. The Latin name is Angelica sinensis. It is the most widely used and sold herb in the world. 1 billion women in Asia use this to balance the hormones. You can use it for PMS, you can use it for menopause, but for pancreatic cancer, it works beautiful because it works with the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the whole endocrine system.
All right, now, so that's for women.
Absolutely.
What if you got a person like Michael Landon who has a guy's got it?
For
Same
men,
herb or a different one?
No, they have to balance the endocrine system, and some of the herbs are the same, but for them, a great one is Siberian ginseng. It's a wonderful...
But I thought that's just a stimulant.
Oh, no, not at
get
all.
more energy or something.
No, it's terrific at balancing the endocrine system. It works very, very well.
Okay, now I believe you were telling me in her case you also did body work.
Yes, again, you know, stimulating this area. The pancreas, most of the vital organs are under the rib cage.
What if you get into it and you touch it and it really hurts?
Oh, just
Do you back off?
No,
Are you making it worse?
Not at all. Even
are you
with
spreading cancer
no,
cells?
No, not at all. And see, this is something that people can't be afraid of. What do we have to lose? I mean, think about it. These people have already given up for dead. The doctors have given up. The natural practitioners have given up. They've given up. Their friends and relatives are giving up. What are we worried about? We're not going to spread the cancer.
All right, so with this woman, she or her family did that deep massage right out over that area, the pancreas?
Absolutely, absolutely. We used the castor oil packs again over the area. We did the hot and cold. We even used the heating herbs like the cayenne.
The poultices?
Yes, the poultices and deep
like
work.
The poke root?
Yeah, deep work right over this whole left side of the rib cage and even under the ribs. They even had their fingers sticking up under the ribs. The bottom line, I got a postcard from her about a year ago. She was climbing the Matterhorn, married, and is a mountain climber.
Richard, I want to ask you about AIDS. I'm reluctant to even ask you because it's hard to believe anybody that says they can even help AIDS because it's such a horrible, total, ghastly condition. But so tell me, whatever experiences you've had with this condition.
I've had 16 patients to date that had AIDS, full-blown AIDS, with the associated diseases that have had 100% recoveries. The first thing I think everybody has to acknowledge here is that everything we've heard about AIDS and know about AIDS is probably wrong. There's more misconceptions about this disease, what it does and what it will do, and even how lethal it is. And this, of course, is going to make everybody mad when they hear this. But don't believe what you hear about AIDS.
I mean, such as that it's fatal.
Oh, absolutely. There's great immunologists and virologists all over the world that suggest that maybe it's a benign, peaceful disease, and that people aren't dying from AIDS, they're dying from the medical treatment for AIDS. Because here's the bottom line. Think about this. If you called a plumber to come to the house and you said, I need a new toilet put in, and he said, fine, but every time I put in a new toilet, within a week, it's leaking all over the place, would you say, fine, please come to my house? Well, why do people with AIDS go to doctors? Because a doctor will tell you 100% death rate with AIDS, period.
Right.
Nobody survives it. Why would anybody with AIDS go to the doctor? I couldn't think of a worse way to depress your immune system. But let me tell you a few scenarios of the typical AIDS patients, and people should listen to this because it's not just AIDS. We're talking about cancer. Anytime the immune system isn't working, here's a scenario. But here's the AIDS scenario. These patients walk in my office. They've been told they're going to die. They've told that there's absolutely no chance. Even with pancreatic cancer, people have survived. Okay, but with AIDS, they are told there is no chance whatsoever. They are dead.
Right.
It's just a matter of time, and we'll try to keep you comfortable. These people come in usually more, never less than 20 prescription drugs that they're on. They're usually on 5 major ones and then 15 to make themselves not be sick from the side effect of the first 5 they were on. They're loaded with drugs. They've been given this death sentence. They're outcasts. They're banished from society. They've lost their job, their friends, their family. These people are in horrible, horrible shape, physically and emotionally. Like most people are ill, but these people more than ever. I had a man come in my office that had a T-cell count of 2. I had a woman come in my office with a T-cell count of 1. It doesn't get any lower. You have to spend an hour trying to find 1 T-cell in a blood sample. These people were incredibly sick. I had one man with AIDS. He was so bad he had Kaposi sarcoma cancer all over his body, red blotches all over.
Now that's cancer.
Oh, that's cancer. He had the pneumocystis lung fibrotic disease. They said one of his lungs was almost 80% fibrosed.
Now, what is that? That's AIDS-associated pneumonia?
Yes, AIDS-associated disease. He was dead. They gave him about a week to live, but he heard a tape somewhere. He heard one of my tapes that said that there's no incurable diseases and everybody can be well, a little cassette tape. And a friend had brought it to him, and he believed it. He thought, well, maybe this is my last chance. He called me. I visited him in the hospital.
He was in the hospital.
I have to say that even my imagination of how well people can be gets a little weak once in a while, and I thought, boy, we're really pushing it here. But I believed he could be well. I believe everybody has a chance. Everybody can be well. So we started working, and he responded tremendously. It was just amazing to me and everybody else. He got better and better.
You could help him even in the hospital?
The bottom line is today is that man does it. He didn't even test HIV positive, which medicine says is impossible. This man went and got HIV tests, and he didn't even test positive for the antibody. This just goes to show you what a tremendous turnaround that anybody can make with an incurable disease.
But how were you able to make this turnaround when he was in the hospital? How were you able to get herbs and the juice and everything else?
Luckily, in Los Angeles, I get into a lot of hospitals. Patients just ask me in, and I have a lot of doctor friends there, so I don't have a problem. One of the first things to remember with the immune system is echinacea. Back to echinacea. Echinacea stimulates T cell production. In fact, in as little as 2 or 3 weeks, you can double, triple, even quadruple the amount of T cells in your body using echinacea.
With good echinacea.
Yeah.
Again, you mean the root, too.
That's right, the root. We're talking echinacea root, the root tea, and the echinacea extract, and it has to be the good quality.
Okay.
And it's tremendous at what echinacea will do to stimulate the immune system. But there are other herbs that are very important here, thinning the blood. One of the ways that the HIV virus spreads through the body is going from one white blood cell to the next. So we need to thin the white blood and the red blood. Garlic, red clover. I can't think of 2 better blood thinners.
Even in something as ghastly as AIDS.
Hey,
a simple herb like
that Dr. Christopher said that red clover was the cure for cancer and the cure for plagues. And, you know, even though he didn't know about AIDS, because that disease really sprung up after his death, here we have a plague, and there'll be many more as time goes on.
So that man, over what time? A year's time, I'm guessing?
No. In about 8 months, that man was able to walk into my office feeling great, looking great. I mean, we're talking a total 100% transformation. He even changed his name because he said he had changed so much he couldn't even relate to the person that he used to be. So he changed his name, even on his California driver's license.
Okay.
He had such a transformation. There are a few antiviral herbs that are important here too. St. John's wort is not only a potent herb loaded with bioflavonoids, a great external and internal healer, but does show antiviral activity, and I always use that.
Is this herb available?
Yes, St. John's wort is a very common weed, grows all over the East Coast, available to everybody, and a gorgeous plant, safe to use, no toxic amounts, just
Well,
like
they take it as a
echinacea.
tea?
Absolutely, you can take it as a tea. You can even make it into an oil and put it on the surface of the body for viral infections on the surface of the body.
What do you do in AIDS when they're just so pathetically emaciated? They're in the final stages, skin and bone.
Yeah.
What do you do to nourish people who are that
Nutrition
horribly ill?
is so important. Remember,
Can they even absorb anything
no,
then?
and this is the thing. So, you know, we have to use what I call a natural healing blood transfusion. That's juices, okay? Where a doctor would use an IV, we get the juicer out of the cupboard. These people can't digest food, forget it. They need juices. They need all their fruits and their vegetables run through the juicer. You got to use organics. You know, the National Cancer Institute reports that farmers that work with insecticides and pesticides have an 8 times higher cancer rate than the rest of the public. We can't give an AIDS patient fruits and vegetables that have been sprayed with antibiotics and insecticides and pesticides. So they need the good stuff. We have to get that organic produce and get those juices in. You'll see a turnaround in their attitude in 2 or 3 days. Make sure we get those elimination channels working. Get that liver flushed out. Lemon balm. Lemon balm is a very common herb. You can grow it in your garden. It tastes wonderful. A potent antiviral herb also.
Oh, it's antiviral?
Yes, absolutely. A good one to use.
So you would use all of these in a serious
Oh,
case?
absolutely. And what's wonderful is everything I've mentioned so far, you can have all you want. There's no amount of lemon balm that you can't use, so it's a wonderful herb. Hyssop is another herb that's antiviral. Lomation, there's no shortage of them out there.
Lomation, another herb. I've never
One
heard of that one.
One thing I might add here that helps too, many people who have cancer, many people who have AIDS, many people whose immune system is depressed horribly get secondary infections that they think is worse than the disease itself.
Right.
Fungal infections especially, anything from athlete's foot to herpes outbreaks to thrush in the mouth or Candida albicans in the mouth. One of the greatest herbs is tea tree oil. It's beautiful.
Really?
Yeah, it's an essential oil from a shrub that grows in Australia and New Zealand, similar to eucalyptus oil, and it's brilliant.
How is it used?
You can use it in your mouth, you can gargle with it, you can brush your teeth with it, you can mix it with a nice oil like jojoba, 10% tea tree oil, 90% jojoba oil, rub it on the skin, on those feet, anywhere you have those fungus outbreaks, ringworm, you know, all the opportunistic infections that take place when a person with AIDS or cancer's immune system is dilapidated. So I guess the biggest word of advice here is if people can recover from AIDS, you can recover from anything.
All right, Richard, let me ask you about lupus because it's been a disease that I've got more questions on it than almost any other disease.
Absolutely. It's quite common, and unfortunately, most people who have it have had it for a long time. They've tried numerous things, and they just believe that there's no help at all. They're just disgusted, they're tired, they've
That's
had
what it
it.
seems, that there's
Oh,
nothing.
absolutely. And I've seen so many people, it's such a shame, because I've seen so many people heal themselves who've had lupus.
You don't mean control it.
Oh, no. I mean, get it, it's gone, never comes back, and they never think about it again. It takes a little work, like everything. We're the Incurables program here.
Okay.
But I've seen many people do that. I've had business executives, I've had people in the entertainment industry that were losing their jobs because of what it was doing to their skin.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst cases I had was a young woman who was in the healthcare industry. She had lupus so bad that many times with lupus the skin becomes very red, blotchy, dry. She even had boils coming out on the skin. She was in a horrible way. She was even suicidal because it had ruined her business. You can't be in the healthcare industry and look horrible.
No.
So she was in a bad way, but she did believe that she could be well. She came to see me and we started work, and she got better. And she was one of the worst cases I'd ever seen.
So if you got the worst, the others are
Oh.
not hard. When they do this whole program
Oh,
that you've
absolutely.
covered.
And you know, there's some specific things that'll help. Not only symptomatic, if the skin becomes very red and itchy and blotchy, you can do some chickweed baths. They're very nice to stop the itching. You
Okay.
can even do an oat bath or an oatmeal bath. Very nice. And if it's extreme, peppermint oil is one of the greatest anti-itch compounds. But remember, with lupus, we're looking at an immune system disorder too. We're looking at an immune system that just won't take care of you. And the same programs with the Incurables as we would do for cancer, AIDS, and the immune system. We have to boost that immunity with herbs, and we have to detox that bloodstream.
Now let's talk about hawthorn berries, hawthorn syrup for the heart. What can you tell us about that you've seen?
Hawthorn is a greater herb for the heart than people would even know. Not only is the history of using hawthorn just amazing, not only the stories we've heard from Dr. Christopher, but modern science shows us numerous things about hawthorn. It contains flavonoids. It contains many different chemicals that go into the heart muscle itself and will make the heart muscle work on less blood and less oxygen. So it actually reduces your risk of having a heart attack if you have blocked coronary arteries. And also the same studies have shown that if you have a heart attack, it'll make your heart cells rebuild themselves and repair twice as fast as normal. So I can't think of a better herb to have in your bloodstream 24 hours a day, and it tastes good. One of the few, 24 hours a day. If you're having a heart problem or if you've been diagnosed with a heart problem, it's a brilliant, brilliant herb.
Okay, now in Europe it's hot stuff, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's famous. And they don't even use the berry. They also use the leaf. They use the flower. They use the whole tree. They use everything. You can make jam out of it. You can even make wine out of it. But I would suggest that everybody who has been diagnosed with a heart problem or even has a heart problem in the family, that they're on a daily or a weekly or a monthly routine of hawthorn berries. You can.
Okay.
There's no overdosage with hawthorn.
How? The details. What do they do? What form?
Okay, hawthorn tea is the greatest way to have a maintenance dose every day. You can just take the berries, crush them up, simmer them in water for about 15 minutes and have that as a tea. It's beautiful.
Do you soak it or you just crush it?
I always like to pre-soak. The more that you can pre-soak your
So you're
harder
assuming a pre-soak.
Absolutely. Pre-soak those hawthorn berries and use them. They're just brilliant. They're wonderful at preventing and also healing any heart problems.
And what about the making of a hawthorn syrup, like Dr. Christopher recommended?
Absolutely. It's terrific, and people should make that at home.
And know how to do it.
Yeah, know how to do it. You need to follow the hawthorn berry recipe that we include and use that hawthorn syrup. And you make it at home, and it's wonderful, and it also tastes very good.
When they make the hawthorn syrup, he used to say a quarter teaspoon 3
Yeah.
times a day. Is that really enough in a bad case?
Well, again, you know, there wasn't a fast food restaurant selling 50% saturated fat meals on every corner
Right.
when he said that. No, we need to up that, up that dosage. We have more heart disease than ever before
What
now.
would you say for today's people?
I would say to do a teaspoon 5-6 times a day of the hawthorn berry syrup.
Okay.
Double that dosage. and add some other herbs to it.
To the basic formula.
Absolutely. Let's get some cayenne in there. Why not? Cayenne is the greatest stimulant. It goes to the heart. It reduces your blood pressure. It helps you pump that blood throughout your whole body. Takes the pressure off the heart.
What else would you do?
Ginger root goes to the extremities. Dr. Christopher talked a lot about ginger. Cayenne and ginger are like the dynamic duo for healing the circulation of the body and taking the pressure off that heart. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but don't forget the garlic. Garlic has been shown in medical tests all over the world to thin your blood out. It increases your levels of HDLs. Those are the high-density lipoproteins.
So your blood is not as viscous?
Absolutely. Those HDLs take the fat out of your blood, take it back to the liver, and get rid of it.
So you would add that to the formula?
Oh, absolutely. Garlic thins the blood, helps clean the plaque off. Don't anybody think because you got plaque on your arteries and your doctor says you need a bypass surgery that you do. It's positive proof that you can clean those arteries back to brand spanking new.
Now these things we're talking about, hawthorn, the garlic, the ginger, all that, you take that will take plaque off?
Absolutely. There are scientific reports, the work of Dr. Dean Ornish. Everybody has seen the proof now. Everybody's seen the proof, including the American Heart Association. Doctors used to say that if you had plaque on your coronary arteries, that the only way to get rid of it was surgery, angioplasty, cardiac bypass
But that's
surgery.
not true.
Not true anymore. There are many, many patients who have reversed that plaque, cleaned it off. Garlic will do it, alfalfa will do it, the heart tonics will do it, exercise does it. You put that all together and reduce your stress, and you're going to have brand spanking new coronary arteries and a heart that pumps fine. And here's the important part. I get patient after patient that comes into my office. They've had a bypass surgery. They're living a decadent life again, and they go, oh, I got all new plumbing. My doctor told me that I'm as good as when I was 20. Only the coronary arteries. What about the cerebral arteries? What about the arteries feeding the kidney? What about the arteries feeding the liver and the pancreas and the lungs?
Good point.
They're filled with plaque. They're filled with cholesterol. This person could drop dead and blow up any minute. They just got a free ride for a few seconds there with that bypass surgery. So that's not a reason to not do these programs. In fact, a person who's had a bypass surgery needs to get on these programs right away.
It could correct heart abnormalities that even had been there for years. Is it powerful enough?
That's my healing story right there. Absolutely. I had, remember, genetic deformities of the heart.
Did you use hawthorn?
Oh, absolutely. It was a big part. Hawthorn and cayenne.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, hawthorn and cayenne were like my dynamic duo. I ate hawthorn on everything.
So it's more than a tonic. It'll actually correct things that are wrong.
It's unbelievable. It will help with cardiac arrhythmias or irregular heartbeat. It will help with tachycardia or a heartbeat that's too fast. It'll help with palpitations.
How about congestive heart failure?
Oh, absolutely. And with congestive heart failure, we have to think about the thickness of the blood too. This type of person, again, that vegetarian food program.
I mean, you got to thin that blood out.
Absolutely, you got to get that blood thin because the heart's trying to pump that blood through the kidneys, and it's just like molasses. It can't get the liquids out of your body, and you're like drowning to death inside.
In viscous fluids.
Absolutely.
What about really, really high cholesterol? Here, no, we're not talking about prevention. We're talking about they're so high that they could just fall over.
Again, remember, the people that come to me are the people that are the worst cases I've ever seen. I had a couple come to me. The woman had a cholesterol level of 500. Okay,
Right.
That was the first one I seen. Her husband had a cholesterol level of 600.
How bad is that?
Well, you consider that the average cholesterol level in this country is 200, and in most countries is 150. It's the worst I ever heard of. In fact, most machinery won't even register that high. Your average cholesterol machinery just says over 300. But they went and had the actual full-on blood test cholesterol triglycerides. They were in horrible shape. I call them ticking time bombs. They were ready to drop dead any minute of a stroke or a heart attack.
Okay, anything you did for them that we haven't already covered?
I think the first thing that you have to think about when you're that bad, you got to stop eating. You absolutely have to stop eating.
Again, we're talking to juices.
Yeah, because that thins the blood immediately, just eating less. The long and short of it is their cholesterol levels drop quickly, and don't forget the liver, stimulating that liver, because remember, it's the liver that's going to get the fat out of the blood. We can aid it with the garlic. We can thin the blood with the red clover, but it's the liver's job, so we got to stimulate that liver, clean out that gallbladder. The liver flush alone will reduce cholesterol
Okay, what
levels.
have you seen like on those cases, the 500, 600?
I
What does it go to? What happens?
Oh, it gets right down to normal. I guarantee, this is a Dr. Schulze guarantee, anybody that will do the program can have a cholesterol level of 150. Now, do you know how many times people come into my office and they go, no, you don't understand, Dr. Schulze. My doctor told me that I genetically produce too much cholesterol, and even on the cholesterol reduction medication, my cholesterol level still is 290. The last lady that said that to me, I had her cholesterol level to 140 in 30 days without the medication. The bottom line is what the doctor means is, well, if you don't make any changes in your lifestyle, you'll still produce too much cholesterol. I've never seen a person, ever, in my 20 years of practice that couldn't get their cholesterol lowered under 175 doing this program. And that's people with genetic history of having too much high cholesterol. So if your doctor said that, it's just because he's ignorant, it's just because he's lying to you. Fire him. Wean off your cholesterol medication, get on this program, and you'll also enjoy a cholesterol level of 150, 160. You'll be down to normal and feeling a lot better.
Have you ever had a case of congestive heart failure? It's just weak, it's not pumping anymore. Doctor's saying you probably need a transplant.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a case like that you
Oh,
turned around?
all the time. And of course, transplant surgery is, most people who do transplant surgery end up with cancer because they have to give you immune suppressive drugs. I can't think of a worse thing to do today than suppress your immune system.
In today's world,
Yeah, because they give you immune suppressive drugs so your body won't reject a baboon heart or somebody else's
But you've
heart or
had
whatever
people
they
who
put
were
in.
scheduled for transplants?
Oh, absolutely.
That bad?
Absolutely.
Even at that stage?
They were so weak. One of the patients, the relatives said, well, we can't get him to your house. And I said, well, how do you get him back and forth to the hospital? And they said, in an ambulance. And I said, you know, put him in a station wagon. I prefer ambulances don't drive up to my clinic.
Right.
Put him in a station wagon. They put him in a station wagon, brought him over. The person couldn't even sit up. If they sat up, their blood pressure went so high, the doctor said it would have killed him. I mean, this is how bad they were. And we started. I'll tell you, it's invigorating just for a person to come in like that because they get to hear me, we get to talk, and they begin to be a believer.
And then what happened with that man?
We started working feverishly, but you got to be careful. Okay, when someone's pilot light is flickering, you know, you can imagine, I believe in full steam ahead programs, but the first 24 or 48 hours, just start introducing everything gradually. For instance, I didn't stand him up, throw him in my shower, and give him a cold shower on the sternum, okay? We went in it easy, but don't do that with the Hawthorne. Hawthorne, full steam ahead. Don't do it with the Cayenne. Cayenne, full steam ahead. Cayenne never hurt anybody. If anything,
Even congestive heart failure?
Oh, absolutely. It'll
What else
save
did you do for this
their
man?
life. Deep breathing, because he couldn't do exercise, so I just started him on a deep breathing program. That's a start.
Okay.
Get that oxygen in that blood, because we know that his heart isn't getting enough oxygen, so if you double your breath, most of us breathe out of the top 10% of our lungs. I mean, let's just open up that rib cage and
what
get
happened
out
with
there. This person now is up to his march every morning. He goes out and does a power walk. We did a lot of work with the kidneys, thin that blood out. This person's on power marches, doesn't go back to the doctors anymore. He just doesn't want to hear what they have to say.
No more wheelchair or anything?
Oh, nothing. He went from the bed to the wheelchair. Now he's power marches, uses a walker a little bit now and then when he gets exhausted, but he's getting better.
All right, what about dosages for children? Not just on Cold Sheet, but on all these programs.
Generally, it's very simple, and I'll give you a simple formula. You don't want to go by age, because at 5 or 6 years old, a child can have a 20-pound difference. They can be small, they can be large, they can be 30 pounds, they can be 50 pounds. You want to go by weight, because that's the mass of their body. So you simply weigh the child and take its weight and put it over 150. You make a fraction. So if a child weighs 50 pounds, you put 50 over 150, you reduce that to the smallest fraction. That child would be on 1/3 the adult dose. Now that's generally, but again, if we're talking diseases, and remember earlier we talked about the 4-year-old with the brain tumor, I will push to get that child up onto the adult dose, even onto the therapeutic dose for cancer and the incurables if I can. What's the worst case scenario? You might get a little vomiting, you might get a little head spinning, you might get a little nausea, whatever. Back off a little, but you push for that higher dosages. But generally for children, you put their weight over 150, reduce that, that's their portion of the adult dose.
Richard, let's talk about something we haven't covered yet, the nerve diseases, and there's a whole lot of them. Yeah. Now, obviously, I know there's the incurable program, so we won't mention that. What else is there?
Well, there's so many nerve diseases. I mean, from lateral sclerosis, like A lateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's disease, myasthenia gravis, Tourette syndrome, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy. There's so many neurological disorders around today. It's unbelievable. I think one of the reasons is stress. We're under more stress than ever before in history. But there's another thing involved here. The immune system is many times eating up the nervous system. Okay. And so there's a few things involved here. Okay. One is we need to stimulate the nerves, and we need to use our great nerve stimulants. Skullcap is one of the greatest nerve stimulants we have. It's beautiful. It helps repair the nerves, stimulates the whole nervous system. Okay. But beyond that, we have oats. Oats is a wonderful nerve stimulant, and it can excite those nerves and turn them on. Nutritionally, there's important aspects. There's a fuel that's in between each nerve cell called a neurotransmitter, and that fuel is acetylcholine. That's a B vitamin complex nutrient. You better be eating your B vitamins, and I'm not talking vitamin pills here. I'm talking about grains, your whole grains. I'm talking about superfoods that contain high amounts naturally of B vitamins. I'm talking about, CLGs that are very high B vitamin foods. Loaded with B12. We need lots of B vitamins. And we also need to not do anything that would destroy the B vitamins. Sugars would come in here. We need to stop foods that attack the nervous system, like coffee. Caffeine is horrid for the nervous system, so we need to stop that.
Have you helped anyone with Lou Gehrig's? Because that's pretty tough.
I had a man come to me with alateral sclerosis that was advanced to such a point that he couldn't speak anymore. He could only write on a piece of paper because it had affected his voice that bad. His whole body was shaking, and he was a professional. He was a doctor. He was in the health field himself. And, of course, he didn't believe he could get well. So now I had a worse case because being a doctor, he knew that there was no cure for it. That he thought he knew. And he also was so far advanced with the disease. We had to do a lot of work with him, including emotional work, because he wasn't a believer. And also, something very important with the neurological diseases, rarely do I see someone with a neurological disease that loves themselves. I mean, your immune system is, your immune system, Sam, is designed to destroy anything that isn't Sam.
Right.
Mine's designed to kill anything that isn't Richard. Okay? When your immune system starts killing you, okay, that is not a good reflection of your emotional state, what you think about yourself, your self-worth, your self-esteem, the stressors in your life and how they're getting you down. You're having a nervous breakdown. That's the way we have to look at it. And we have to stimulate your immune system, but stop making it eating you up. And this is done with a lot of emotional work. You have to love yourself.
In other words, it's a self-attack.
Oh, absolutely. It's a self-attack. And you need to learn how to love yourself. You need to learn how to look into the past and increase your self-esteem and it's your self-worth and love your body, love your mind, love your spirit.
What was the total end result on the ALS case?
Well, what was amazing about this one is he was a medical doctor and he was a non-believer, and it took 2 years, but 2 years later, he was talking, he was speaking, he was walking, he wasn't shaking. He still didn't believe he was healed, even when he had no signs of ALS at all. And I asked him why, and he said, there's no cure for alateral sclerosis. And he's still fine and alive today, still believes he has the disease, and absolutely has no sign whatsoever of having Lou Gehrig's disease.
Do you have any special little instructions for, like, let's say, myasthenia gravis?
Myasthenia gravis especially affects the facial muscles,
right,
the eyesight, the swallowing. Don't start wearing the glasses. Use the eye wash. Use the nervine herbs externally on the face.
What do you mean, rub them on the face?
Oh, absolutely.
Nervine herbs, what, skullcap?
Yes, skullcap, oats, blue cohosh, the B&B tincture, blue cohosh, black cohosh, blue vervain, skullcap and lobelia, equal parts. Put it right on the face. Put it in the ears. Dr. Christopher
And
did
rub it
that.
around the eyes.
Absolutely, around the eyes. And the person needs to learn how to relax. Most people with nervous disorders don't even know what the word relax means.
Okay.
They're stressed out. They've usually been doing too much. They take life too seriously. One of my prescriptions is they have to learn jokes. And I'm not kidding. They have to come back and tell me jokes. These people are way too serious about life. They're stressed out. They're snapping. Their nervous system's like circuit breakers that are shutting off. It just isn't working anymore.
What about anything special on Parkinson's for the tremors other than what you've already told us?
Lobelia. Lobelia can help people so much because it helps with the tremors. In the old days, they used to call it St. Vitus dance. Lobelia is the greatest magical antispasmodic herb on this planet that I know. It is a miracle what it'll do, and it'll help relieve, it helps relax the whole body. Lobelia is a good one for anybody with any nervous disorder where we have cramping or nervous dysfunction, but for Parkinson's disease it's a miracle.
So you've had people with real bad shakes and
Oh,
contractions.
absolutely. I had a man that came in my office and his leg was bouncing so hard on the floor I thought someone was operating a jackhammer outside. I just heard this bum, 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 and then I went in my office and it was this man.
And he couldn't stop it.
He couldn't stop his leg. It was pounding the floor in my
Okay.
office.
What about the final question on that I have is, what about like muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis?
Don't
They're
give
just
your money
wasting
to
away.
Jerry Lewis. That's all I can say. They'll never find a cure. They've been working for years on finding a
Have
cure.
you had any of those, though, that you have turned
Oh,
around?
absolutely. I've seen hundreds of people with both those diseases turn themselves around.
Doing what we've already discussed.
Absolutely. The Incurables program, getting their muscular strength back,
Okay.
not dragging a leg anymore. You know what the worst thing is with that disease? It's very similar to AIDS. They tell you there's no cure. There's nothing we can do. We can try to make you a little more comfortable, and we're searching for that cure. It'll never be found.
Richard, how can our readers and customers contact you?
Well, it's very easy. Unfortunately, I'm not practicing anymore. I've officially retired from practice. Not necessarily that was my desire. It's the government of this country's desire.
Okay.
But I do have a school in Los Angeles called the Los Angeles Institute of Natural Healing.
Okay.
We have courses that start for the layperson on how to be well for yourself, your family, your loved ones, all the way up to the professional.
I know and you know you can't be the doctor for the thousands and thousands of people out there. But let's just pretend for a moment you could be their doctor and that you were their doctor and that they were standing in front of you right now, no hope. They're ready to leave this world and they're saying, Dr. Schulze, is there anything that you can tell me?
Start the Incurables program right away. It's never too late. You can be well. I know these people are sick and tired. They're sick and tired of the pain and feeling sick and tired. I know that they think that it's too far, they're too far gone, that the disease has progressed too far. I know they've even thought about calling Dr. Kevorkian or maybe even have attempted suicide before with their disease, with their problems, with the pain. I know that they have cupboards in the kitchens full of vitamins, minerals, herbs, holistic treatments that they tried, they hoped would work, they didn't work. I know that they have drawers and medicine cabinets full of prescription drugs. Flush them all down the toilet. It's time to start over. I know that their doctor doesn't care anymore, and they've gone to a new doctor and a new doctor. After a while, the doctor won't call them back. The doctor doesn't even want to talk to them anymore. The doctor's given up. He said it's incurable. He said, go home and get your house in order. I know that they might have tried holistic practitioners or alternative practitioners. Most of these people probably were frightened by their disease, didn't know what to do, or sold them a vitamin or a mineral and hoped they were going to get better, and they didn't. I know that the people that are listening to this tape have run out of things to do, and we want to give them more things to do. Right now, the Incurables program.
Now, Richard, let's be realistic. What if one kidney's gone, one lung?
I don't care
your
how
skin
many
and bone, you're full of
surgeries
sores.
this person's had. I don't care how big or advanced the tumor is. I don't care what the disease is. I don't care if the doctor said they were supposed to be dead 4 months before they watched this video. I don't care. That's no excuse. They can be well. They got to believe. Don't give up. they can be well with this program. The Incurables program has turned people around that had worse conditions than they can even imagine. They don't have any idea how bad some of my patients were that fully recovered from their diseases. Don't give up and start the programs today.